Hello, I'm Joshua Edwards from New York City. Today is April 15th, 2023, and I wish to pay the deepest respect and a tribute to my dear friend, Mr. Dominic Tercy, who as of yesterday, as hard as it is to believe, is no longer with us. But he is very much here in spirit. I just want to talk a little bit about my personal history with Dom. And then I want to make this an educational moment for some students, because one thing among the many passions Dom had was mentoring and teaching. And I am honored to have been among his mentees that benefited from his vast knowledge and wealth of history and passion for court reporting. Of course, everybody knows about Dom's gallery of shorthand, perhaps the only one in the country, maybe the world, that documents the history of our profession and the various methodologies that have been used to capture the record. Dom talked so much about perpetuating that profession. He liked to joke that taking down verbatim shorthand is the second oldest profession in the world. We've come a long way from the days of wax tablets, which he would often joke he was there when they were in use. And then we evolved to the pen shorthand, and finally to the beloved steno machine that we have today, which is, and God willing will always be, the gold standard. Even though other technologies have come in and threatened to replace us, Dom never, ever lost faith in the value of stenographic reporting. And he said all the time, this is the best time to be a court reporter because there is such a demand for our service. We provide such an important function. Clearly, he loved it because he did it for half a century. He kept joking about retiring. In the end, Dom got the last laugh. He never retired. On his last day of life, he was literally on his way to do what he loved, which was to talk about court reporting at a conference in Washington. Dom handpicked me to be a budding business partner for a venture called the Cicero Forum. And that forum was going to be a series of workshops and seminars, basically court reporting, everything court reporting related. Education, the knowledge of the profession, how students transition from being students to working professionals. He, of course, had so many tips on how to build speed because he himself was a speed champion, having been the only person documented to write for 5 minutes at 300 words a minute, which is unfathomable to me. The Cicero Forum was originally going to be taught in person. Then the pandemic happened and we realized it would most likely have to shift to online. Dom and I spent countless hours at Plaza College working on the content, coming up with PowerPoints, recording ourselves, listening to the recordings and realizing that at some points we sounded like buffoons. We had so many laughs as we listened to the recordings. Neither of us were ever happy enough to actually release them. And Dom was just about to dust off the Cicero Forum and we were going to get back into it and get it ready to be taken to the market. It'll be a great regret of my life that Dom and I never got to teach the Cicero Forum in the full form. But we did get to have a day in 2018 at the New York State Court Reporters Association last in-person annual conference. We had a room full of students. We also had many of our colleagues there, fellow board members, many of whom have been Dom's good friend for many years. And we had a full day of incredible teaching and laughing and learning. Having Dom as my partner to present was like an Abbott and Costello routine. It was clear how much he loved this material and how much he loved sharing it with students. And so as promised, I thought today, since it's so fresh what has happened and we've lost our dear friend, I would pick one specific thing to focus on to actually teach for any students that are listening. This might seem random, but it is a concept that arose out of a conversation I had with someone who has graduated school and is still confused about the notary function. So among the many hours of videos that Dom and I recorded together, we talked about that particular aspect of being a court reporter. You have to have a notary public license in the state of New York, and in most states, some states have other licensure requirements, but here you must be a licensed notary public in order to swear in a deponent. And there is a lot of confusion because there's a place on the transcript where the deponent has to take that transcript and have it notarized. So this student that I was talking to, well, this recent graduate I was talking to said, "Do I notarize that?" And I said, "No. You never have to actually physically notarize a document as a court reporter if you don't want to. You don't have to buy a stamp, and you certainly don't stamp and sign the transcript, at least not on the jurat." So what I'd like to do is use two visual aids to illustrate the difference between the jurat, which does contain the notary, which is not the court reporter, and the page that the court reporter signs. So first we have what's called the witness declaration. And I hope this comes through in focus, might be a little blurry. But this is a document where the witness declares what these two paragraphs say, more or less that the transcript is accurate and they gave that testimony. This is the jurat here. The witness signs on their line, and then a notary public who is not the court reporter notarizes that document. The court reporter who prepared the transcript signs this document, which is called the certificate. So this is my certificate. You're not supposed to be able to read it. It doesn't really matter what it says, as much as that you understand the difference that this is the document that I, the court reporter, sign. It has nothing to do with me actually being a licensed notary public. And you can see here is my electronic signature. So that's on every PDF of the transcript that I submit to whatever agency I'm working for. So I hope that that little sample brought to life the kind of content that Dom and I were planning on sharing, and so much more with the students across the country who are endeavoring to become stenographic court reporters. And in that pursuit, they would be perpetuating the skill and the craft that Dom so dearly loved. I'd like to close tonight by sharing a little story, or rather a little gift of music. As you might have imagined, it comes from this show, which actually is closing tomorrow, and I could have gone to see the second to last performance tonight, but I chose to be here doing this in honor of Dom. So there's a song called "Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again." And I'm going to do my own version, and it's called "Wishing Dom Was Somehow Here Again." Wishing Dom was somehow here again. Wishing Dom was somehow near. All of those years, steno and tears, helping the students fly. Shorthand lectures, schools, and conferences, opening the gallery. Oh, you have done 80 years young. How we shall miss DT. Thank you.